that is to say that it can't rain all the time. See, the
I'm
matter
derping.
is of the record spins. You see, it plays the song by the Birdman who has fallen. Uh-huh. The Birdman says it can't rain all the time. Well, there it is.
But have you been to the West Coast lately? Oh.
It can't rain all the time, listeners. Welcome to episode 99 of the Lazor Comb podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic TV with a fine-tooth laser. I am, as always, one of your hosts, Father Siege.
And I'm your other host, as always, Dogman.
Dogman.
Dogman Cal.
Dogman. Dogman Cal. Sounds like you're the Dogman. Skibbidibidibidibidibib. Ruff, 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 ruff. Ruff, 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 ruff.
Dogman. I'm the Dogman, not the Scat Man.
I'm the Dogman. Butter, 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 butter. Arf, 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 arf.
It writes itself.
It
This
does,
is the
yeah.
quality entertainment you get here at the Lazor Comb podcast.
Right. So it's Shocktober, people. And the reason why I referred to myself for the audio listeners as Father Siege, because I am dressed as a man of the cloth.
Of the cloth, that's right.
I'm dressed as a man of the cloth.
And I'm Dogman Cal, because it seems like a play on words. Dogman Cal,
Yeah.
or like something from like the Silmarillion. Because I am a cowboy bebop dog for Halloween. That's right.
For a second there, I thought you were going to start singing, I'm a cowboy, baby. Cowboy, baby.
I'm a cowboy dog.
You're a cowboy, doggy.
Yeah.
This week on the Lazor Comb podcast, we're continuing on with our little mini programming block of Shocktober 2024, and this time we are reviewing a show that I liked back in the late 90s. It's a show called The Crow, Stairway to Heaven.
People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
But sometimes something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul can't rest.
Then sometimes, just sometimes, the crow can bring the soul back to put things right.
Things can never be right. My soul will never rest until we are together again.
Now, what is The Crow? The Crow is something that both me and Cal, we're both quite big fans of The Crow as a property, particularly that original 1994 movie.
Yeah.
The setup is real simple. Young man and woman, madly in love, they're murdered. Man comes back a year later, resurrected by a supernatural crow, paints his face, gets superpowers, seeks revenge, kills all the people who killed him and his fiance, and once the job is done, he goes back into the grave and reunites with his loved one in the afterlife.
And there's a little kid along the way.
Yeah, and there's a neighborhood kid who he helps out. And he befriends the one of the police officers who
Oh, that's
investigated
right.
who investigated him and his dearly departed. Her name's Shelly. His name's Eric. Her name's Shelly. He befriends the police officer who one of the police officers who was investigating. The Crow came out in 1994. It was a modest hit. Very quickly became a cult classic. I saw the movie. I think I saw a thing. I was 9 years old when the movie came out, and I saw a thing about the untimely death of Brandon Lee. There was like a documentary
Mm.
on TV about the movie, and so I ended up watching the movie maybe about a year later and ended up really liking it, and it's been one of my favorite movies ever since for the past like nearly 30 years now.
Hmm.
It was followed up by a handful of one theatrical sequel, The Crow, City of Angels, which is atrocious. A movie that got another sequel that got a very limited theatrical release, but was quickly pushed onto home video in the year 2000. The Crow Salvation, which is it's not great, but as far as like the sequels go, I would say it's the best of the bunch.
What about the Crow City of Angels for the PlayStation?
I never actually played it, but it has a reputation.
I'm doesn't look like something I didn't know it existed until fairly recently, and I probably won't play it.
No, I probably won't either. And so, yeah, The Crow Salvation, the year 2000, pretty decent film. 5 years later, there was another direct-to-video sequel starring Edward Furlong and Tara Reid, I think, was in it, called The Crow Wicked Prayer. I've never actually seen it. Or because I was working at a video store when it came out, I think I rented it and put it on and then got sidetracked very quickly and then just never watched it.
Huh.
So to this day, I've never seen it. In 1999, there was this TV show, The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. Lasted a total of, I believe, 22 or 23 episodes. Only lasted one season. Now, the setup for the show. Oh, and also, the franchise kind of went dormant for a while after Wicked Prayer until this year, the year of our Lord 2024. There was not so much a remake as like a new adaptation of the original comic book that bombed at the box office and was reviled by critics and audiences, and I still haven't seen it. I was tempted to watch it today just to talk about it on this podcast, but, well, I
I'll
didn't.
probably never watch it.
Maybe I'll watch it later tonight. Who knows? But yeah, so the Crow, Stairway to Heaven. I always in my head want to conflate the two titles of Stairway to Heaven and City of Angels.
So do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
Okay, so it's not just me.
I need to stop after I say it and think about it and then say the the following line.
Okay, so it's not just me then.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Crow, Stairway to Heaven lasted only one season of like 22 episodes. The show follows the plot of the original film. I guess I should mention all the sequels that I talked about. They weren't about Eric Draven, the main character from the first film. They were all about different different people who them and their loved ones like met an untimely end, so they come back and seek revenge. But
The Stairway to Heaven is Eric Draven.
yeah, Stairway to Heaven is Eric Draven. The like feature length, like first episode of the TV show is kind of a loose retelling of the movie from what I remember. Until today, I hadn't seen this show in literally like almost 25 years. So I'm kind of going from memory, but
Hmm.
the first episode kind of retells the story of the movie with some of the events changed with new actors. Eric Draven, he's been brought back. He got his revenge, but instead of returning to the afterlife in the TV show, he basically becomes a superpowered do-gooder. This is almost like a superhero type show.
Indeed, we'll find out some more about the world with this particular episode. But yeah, he didn't unlike the movie, once justice is served, he doesn't fade off into the other side.
Yeah.
He's stuck here.
Yeah, he's stuck here, seemingly against his will. From what I recall in the show, he basically is stuck around to like right injustices in the world, and eventually like he may be able to like cross over back to the other side. The Eric Draven, the Crow, in this TV show is played by Mark Dacascos, who would later on go on to be the chairman in Iron Chef America.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I saw Iron Chef America was probably in like 2011 or 2012, and seeing Mark Dacascos, and I'm like, I recognized him as the guy from The Crow right away. I'm like, oh hey, it's Eric Draven.
I didn't right away. I was like, who the fuck is that? I feel like I know him.
Now I'll get this out of the way, like right off the bat. I think Mark Dacascos is actually great casting for this role. Obviously, no one can hold a candle to Brandon Lee's performance in the original film, but I think Mark Dacascos is a good recast for the character.
Honestly, it says, I think it is, and his demeanor, and just his acting sold me on it. Like, I've caught parts of this show here and there, but I've only watched a full episode like for this show. And he's a big, he makes the show.
He nails it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think he does. Some people might disagree, but it's like, well, what do you want? You can't have the same actor. So like what?
Yeah. And I would say I think most of the good casting, like, because most of the characters in this show are characters from the movie as well, but they're all recast. I think the good recasting kind of begins and ends with Mark Dacascos. I'll give some props to the girl who plays Sarah. Like, she does an all right job, I think.
Who is that? The blonde?
The kid. The teenager.
Oh, sorry.
Sarah. Yeah.
Right.
She does fine.
Honestly, she's probably second tier in this.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily, which is a compliment for her, but equally a non-compliment for the rest of the actors.
For the rest of the cast. I looked the actress up.
They're woefully boring.
I looked the actress up who played Sarah in this show, and to give you an idea of just how much time has passed, the girl is my age.
Oh, that'll do it.
she and folks, I am almost 40 years old at this point, and she was born, like, I think she was born in March of 85, and I was born in January of 85, so she's like the same age as I am.
There you go.
And she is very clearly a child in this show.
It's so weird to go and watch older things where there's a kid, but we were the same age as that kid.
Yeah.
It's funny, and we're seeing like old men. Like, I posted in our Discord. We have a Discord. It was like millennials. Your millennial uncle comes over.
Oh,
and he's like wearing like a blue versus red versus blue like shirt, and he's like, you don't even know what this is.
I didn't even notice the red versus...
I guess we're getting that age.
I didn't even notice the red versus blue shirt. I just laughed because the TikTok that you posted, I was like, lol, it's so me.
It's fuck, man, that singular meme, that TikTok, when I was like, oh damn, yeah, I guess there's millennial uncle memes coming out.
Yep.
Now, huh?
You don't even know what it was like having Halo LAN parties back in 2002.
That if that's not one of the lines from that meme, it might as well be.
I don't think it is, but it might as well be. Yeah, that's very much the vibe.
Yeah. Maybe it was just a Halo shirt, not even a red versus blue shirt.
Either way.
Either way. It's weird to think of Halo being uncle generation. So I'm like,
Yeah.
"God, there's lots of Halo games." And then I like look at how many have been released lately, and I'm like, oh, I I guess that's old IP now, huh?
Yeah, totally. Funny enough, I was playing Halo Infinite earlier today.
Ooh,
I
that's
jump
why
in,
they call it Halo Infinite. You can play it forever.
I jump into that from time to time when I'm trying to kill a little bit of time.
And a
Uh,
little bit of noobs.
and a little grunts. I mostly play Firefight now because I can't be bothered with competitive multiplayer. Someone was saying to me the other day because the new Call of Duty is out. They were like, "Oh, you should jump into Call of Duty multiplayer," and I was like, being a man who is almost 40 years old at this point, naturally,
Right?
I'm a Halo guy.
Now I was, oh man, I was such a huge COD person, even competitively. And just, I don't know. I don't like those anymore. I don't want to scream at the 13-year-olds and have them screaming at me. And yeah,
Yeah.
you can turn all that stuff off, but it's like I don't know, man. I want to play something with a story instead of like a repetitive shooting other people grind.
Actually, I will say, as someone who still plays Xbox Live fairly often, most people don't even use headsets anymore.
Different times,
Different
folks.
times, yeah.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. We put it through the old random number generator and landed on episode 15, Birds of a Feather. Don't know what its original air date was because this show was syndicated.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So its original air date could have been anywhere in the year 1999.
Nobody knows, man.
Nobody knows. I'm sure if I looked hard enough, I could maybe find out, but don't
That
care
would
enough.
require looking hard.
So the episode opens with Eric Draven on trial. He's on trial for Shelley's murder.
Yeah, this
And-
beginning scene pissed me off. Not like pissed off at the show, but like I was like, I don't think judges are supposed to talk like this judge.
Yeah, the judge is kind of sassy.
Yeah, he's like, well, I don't care what you have to say. You're a son, you're a goddamn some bitch liar, and you killed your girlfriend. But it's not up to me. It's up to the jury, I suppose, and they found you innocent for some reason.
No, he was like, I don't know if you committed Shelley's murder, but I have a feeling that you're knee deep into this somehow. Now, I don't think the jury listened to my instructions with the verdict, so therefore I'm going to throw their verdict out, and you're to be released immediately. Which
Oh,
I
I
don't-
misunderstood that.
I don't think that's a thing a judge can actually do. They can't just be like, "Lol, the jury's wrong."
That's why I was confused. Oh, okay, I see. I don't think that like a judge can't be like, I disagree with the jury. Like
Yeah.
you're supposed to be judged by a jury of your peers.
Yeah.
I
So it's like, the jury found you guilty, but I'm not convinced. So you know what? You're just free to go. I don't think
You're
a judge
free
can
man.
do that.
I didn't think so either. And I was confused about what was going on. I thought it was the other way around, and okay. So he's free to go.
He's free
And I'm
to
like,
go.
oh shit. So he doesn't like lurk in the shadows in this. He's just like a dude.
Yeah.
Man, come back from the dead and you have to pay taxes and go to court. Like that sucks.
Well, and like they know who he is too, so he's not. I guess he's not declared like he's not legally dead anymore.
Yeah, like it's his full name. So like they undeclared him dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's explained in the first episode, but like again, I watched this show 25 years
The
ago.
soundtrack for this show, man, one of the only good things besides acting from a certain someone.
We'll get to it, but I really want to figure out what it is because there's a scene where Eric goes to a bar and there's a band playing, and I actually really like the song that they're playing.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I would legit just listen to that.
I'll have to play that and then like hold my phone up to it and
I
See if it
tried.
recognizes it.
I tried Shazamming it earlier, and
Oh, you did?
it couldn't find anything. But
Ah, shit.
maybe if you give it a shot, maybe it'll find something.
YouTube AI or Google AI, always listening. I had to go and find and turn that off because I'd pick up my phone and in the lock screen, it would tell me what song was playing sometimes. Like if it was clear enough, like I'd be
Yeah.
hanging out and we'd be at a pub or I'd be at like grocery shopping or whatever. And I'd be like, wait, what the fuck? And I had to like go into the settings and be like, no, I don't want you always listening for music. But their GPS and they're always on, damn it. They're always keyword listening anyway.
Something my phone does, and I recently got an iPhone 15 Pro Max, like within the past like 6 months or so. It's a really nice phone. It's great. But one thing that it does that was really weirding me out for a long time is when I walk into a room, the screen will just awaken. Like if the phone is like on my end table in my living room, and I walk into my living room, the screen will just wake up.
I swear that it knows when I'm like looking at it. It's never been the room though. That's freaky.
Yeah.
But for me, it's when I like go like this, and I know some have like facial recognition, so that like it'll.
I don't even need
in
to.
The room.
I don't even need to be looking at it. It does it a lot too, because like I'll have my phone in my computer room a lot, like on my desk, and when I walk into the room, the screen will just awaken. Even if I'm not like looking like directly at it, I'll just walk into
the room. Be like, "Hello, Siege.
Yeah.
Would you like ambient music?" And you'll be like, "My God, it's alive."
And Siri will talk to me with her like sexy Australian accent.
Oh, yours is Australian, right?
Mine's
Good day, Sage. Would you like some ambient light?
Anyway, so Eric is free to go. From here, we're introduced to this show's version of Sarah, the one that I mentioned is the same age as I am. So it tells you how old the show is.
Sarah? What are you up to?
Well, after you being in prison for so long, I thought I could fix the place up. It was kind of dark.
Thanks. I like it.
Oh, and this came for you. The blonde who has the hots for you wants to meet you tonight at the Blackout.
I think maybe I just want to be alone.
Eric, you've had 6 months to be alone. You should go. Hey, look.
Birds of a feather.
Guess even crows get lonely sometimes, huh?
Yeah, I didn't hate this. Usually I hate kid actors. No.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's fine. Believable.
Yeah, she was fine. But so Eric goes back to his like studio apartment that he shared with Shelly, and Sarah is there, and Sarah is like, hey, you were in jail for 6 months, and so I thought you needed. I thought I'd like spruce the place up for you, as like kind of a homecoming thing. Also, there's a lady who wants to go on a date with you tonight.
And he's like, no. I just can't blah, blah, blah. And the little kid's like, actually, it's been like forever, dude. Maybe you should just go say hi.
What's the point?
What's the point of being undead if you ain't gonna bang a few blocks?
What's the point of coming back to life if you're, not gonna live?
Just gonna be a moody little bitch who like gargoyles over the. He's not lit. She's not letting him be Batman.
Yeah, basically. So from then, we go to the police station, and we're introduced to this show's version of Lieutenant Albrecht, who was played by the great Ernie Hudson in the 1994 film. And this is where the recastings take like a complete nosedive.
Because this is a particularly likable character in the movie.
I mean, to be fair, no one can replace Ernie Hudson.
But it's like I know acting's a hard job and everything, but it's just
the only way.
This guy's so boring.
The only way you could replace someone played by Ernie Hudson and have it be a win, I would argue, is if you replaced him with Mike Coulter. Like if you were gonna like reboot like Ghostbusters or something and you needed a Winston Zedmore, you cast Mike Coulter.
Yeah.
That's the only way that casting is gonna work.
I can see that. Yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting. His plot is interesting, but all of the lines where he's talking to people, the people he's talking with, are one of them's his ex.
They said you'd be out here.
Yeah. And I am. Definitely out here.
So, how you doing, okay?
I am terrific.
Here.
Who's this?
A lawyer I know specializes in wrongful termination, that kind of thing.
I don't need a lawyer.
Believe me, you need a lawyer. Daryl, we're still friends.
Really? I don't get that. You know, first we're lovers, looking for houses together, and I get in trouble at work. And now we're friends? How does that work?
It's not that simple.
Well, I got a couple of minutes before my next donut break. Enlighten me.
I hate it when you get like this.
Like this? I didn't move out. I didn't give back the key.
I gotta get downtown.
See you later.
I spaced out. There's like a 5-minute scene before like a commercial fade where he's talking to like his ex, who's like a lawyer or something. Anyways,
he has a couple of exes in this show. So we find out that Lieutenant Albrecht is being demoted because he's been helping out Eric Draven. So
he's been helping out Croman too much.
He gets busted.
Croman.
He gets busted back down to being like a beat like uniform cop
as kind of a unofficial like punishment.
It was kind of
he comments later that it's like, oh, they're trying to humiliate him to the point where he quits, but Mama didn't raise no quitter.
Yeah. Meanwhile, his Blondie, I guess, is like his partner or something. He accuses her.
Another detective that like shares like the office with them. Yeah.
He accuses her of like selling him out.
Yeah.
And then they bang later in the episode.
They must have been semi-rivals, semi-partners or something like that, because he's like super sussy and he's like, yeah, well, you got what you wanted. Don't take over my desk space that quickly.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
But then later she shows up with a peace offering and I'm like, the chick shows up with like a bottle of wine. Like, I'm sorry, but that's that's not like what good old pals do.
No.
Right? Like,
no, an attractive lady shows up at your house with a bottle of wine in the evening.
And she's even like, I've made too many decisions. I've jumped into relationships like too soon. And if I stay any longer, I'm going to make a mistake. And then instead of leaving or letting him reply, she just immediately like kisses him. And I'm like, oh, you didn't really think about what you just said too long, did you?
So we
get ahead of ourselves, right? We are introduced to a new character this episode.
This is a very
Lady Crow.
Lady Crow. This is we see some like shot, like we see like Eric like walking through the city, and then we cut to an alley and there's Crow Lady. But right before that, and this is a very minor detail, there is a delivery truck that drives by that says Argus Trucking on the back or on the side of it. And immediately I'm like, this is British Columbia. And why? Because I recognize that trucking company. Folks,
we know where it was filmed.
Folks, when you work in a job where you receive a lot of like where a lot of delivery trucks like come and go, you start to recognize them. Like you get to know what companies deliver to you, what they deliver to each like company delivers to you, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, seeing the Argus trucking delivery truck drive by in the background kind of made me chuckle. I'm like, yep, this is Vancouver.
Makes sense. Everything was filmed in Greater Vancouver in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think X-Men was too. Like probably a ton of other stuff. We won't get into that. Everything's in.
So much so that the guy who played Colossus in the X-Men movies, like X2 and X3, X-Men: The Last Stand, went to high school with an ex of mine.
Oh,
Yeah. So that says it all right there. Oh yeah, so we meet Crow Lady,
he's
who
like kind of wearing a.
she's looking kind of haggard, like stumbling through an alley. And from here, I'm like, this is definitely Vancouver.
Dead inside, but still alive. A soul that bleeds internally, thirsting for a sip of your smile. A year ago, like yesterday, Lord, you know how hard I prayed. Make you stay here for a while. 'Cause life was better with you here. I know it'll take some time to fully heal before I say goodbye. Want to change is moving on, holding on to everything just to be your thoughts for a while. A year ago, like yesterday, Lord, you know I'd give up anything just to have you here for a while.
The streets feel very Vancouver-y. And she stops to like look in a storefront,
Just
and
a,
she gets a flash of a child.
just a like crack whore looking lady, like
She's very
half-dressed,
crazy looking.
just wandering through an
Half-dressed,
alley.
yeah.
That's where I'm like, yeah, this is definitely Vancouver.
She likes to pose very, very crow-like. Crow people don't sit normally; they crouch.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed. Yeah.
Well, and
but
she's
she gets
walking
angry and-
around all awkwardly, which at first I was like, why is she walking like that? But then I thought about it. I'm like, well, she did just come back to life. Maybe she's like shaking off the rigor mortis.
It's she's coming back from a Vampire the Masquerade LARP, and that's how the Malkavian clan they move, they walk. It's the crazy vampires in Vampire the Masquerade.
She wanders through the streets, steals a shirt to cover herself up with, steals a jacket, smashes the window of like a collectible store.
That was to get a sweater, apparently, but
Yeah.
also because she was angry because she remembered that she had a flashback of a child on the swing.
Yeah.
And when you know it, she wanders around all day until she's in an alleyway.
She just happens to end up in an alleyway behind the bar that Eric Draven is just happened to goes to meet with this other lady that wanted to go on a date with him.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his crow powers activate because he can share senses or alerts with his crow.
With the bird.
And the crow's
yeah.
hanging out in the alleyway, and it's like, hey, Mr. Crowman, you should come out here. There's a crazy lady fighting some dudes.
There was a little bit of foreshadowing beforehand because, and when Eric is at his like studio apartment talking to Sarah, in the window, his crow is just chilling out, and another crow lands beside.
And the little kid,
His bird.
Sarah's like, oh, I guess even crows need friends.
Yeah. So
And he's like, birds of a feather. He said the name of the title of the show. I watched the movie. Good.
So yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a neat foreshadowing.
Yeah, and they did the crows are a little differentiated. Hers has like some white tuft, like white feathers right there.
Yeah.
That's how you tell them apart.
So a couple of guys start harassing her in this alleyway, being all like, "Come on, baby, like don't fight it." And her crow powers activate, and she beats the living shit out of them.
Hey, feel like partying?
I partied out.
See, she got a thing for quality.
Me? Yeah, dream on. You are gonna need somebody to watch out for you in there. You wouldn't believe some of the losers inside.
Maybe we shouldn't go inside.
Hey!
I'll be right back. Maybe you guys would be interested in a threesome.
Hey! Alright, that's enough. You got it. I said knock it off!
And who's gonna make me?
And
she
when
goes
her
crow powers activate. So I want to point something out here. Okay, this is
Okay.
going to come up in the movie. Eric Draven just puts on the crow that makeup
yeah,
to be fucking cool and edgy and a little bit scary. Right.
yeah,
In this, they have crow power, and their faces. There's editing tricks. They just change like that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's something in this show, and even I think the movie sequels kind of adopted after a while. Because I remember in The Crow Salvation, which I mentioned earlier, after the main character of that movie, played by actor Eric Mabius from that first Resident Evil movie, he plays the Crow in that. And after he is executed, when he comes back, he like basically rips off his like burned face. Because he was executed by the electric chair. So he rips off the like burned skin of his face, and underneath is just the crow makeup. So I think them
Sounds great.
So I think them when they just activate their crow powers, like suddenly having the face paint.
But they have to put their hand up in the air and hold a crow medallion, and they have to say, "Crow powers activate."
Form
It's
of
crow.
form of
Form of crow.
Birdman.
Form of crowman. And she's like, "Form of crow woman." Fuck.
Anyways,
So he comes out and she's crowman too, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta calm down, lady. I might be able to help you." And she's like, "How can you help me?" And he digs through the trash, grabs a mirror conveniently, and shows her. It's just like, "Look, lady, you got crowman face. That only happens when you come back to life and been our crow." And she's like, "Oh shit." So he abandons.
He abandons his date, yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say her form of crow lady was definitely doing it for me.
I'm not saying that it didn't. She's just her portrayal is very Shakespeare in the Park. The way she stands and
her acting is atrocious in this show.
I like the choreography, how like that she's kind of low on the ground, but her acting.
She makes weird faces. She makes very weird
too.
And she delivers like the lines she delivers, or like delivers them in a very, very hokey.
You ever
like,
play that
hackneyed.
Vampire the Masquerade RPG, Bloodlines?
Yeah, of course, many times.
Oh, okay. The acting in that is better. Actually, no, I thought the acting in that was fine.
It's been a while since I played it. It's probably been at least like 5 years at this point.
I remember it being a little cheese, but fine. Well, I mean, you're playing a vampire, so it's going to be a little cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he abandons his date. Oh, one thing, when Eric was in the club, all the bitches are checking him out.
Yeah.
How you doing?
My drums fell to beat, coming close to complete. I'll learn the names of these trees.
Hey, aren't you like Eric Draven?
No.
Yes, you are.
What can I do for you?
Sign your autograph. Here. I'm a VIP.
I'm a crow. Pass.
Guess they don't have mixed race people in Vancouver.
I thought they just thought he was hot. Which, to be fair, he's a very good looking man.
Oh, they were just all checking him out, not because he looked different, but because he was hot.
Yeah, I thought.
Oh, see, that went over my head. Oh, because then that chick approaches him, and she's like, "Are you Eric?" Oh, plus he's been in trial on TV for. That's why people are looking, and you know what bitches love? Felons. I don't know why
they do,
but bitches love potential killers. They're like, I can fix him and he'll protect me. And I know he's good at it because he killed other bitches.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
That's how that
What's
works.
Up with bitches like in true crime?
So Eric calls up Albrecht and is like, hey, can you meet me somewhere? I need your help. And so Albrecht meets up with him, and Eric is like, listen, I need you to get me some info about some potential, like, some murders that could have happened recently. And Albrecht's like, can't do that, man. And he's like, why not? And he's like, look, I'm a beat cop now, and it's your fault. Like, things are different now. And he's like, whatever, I didn't need your help anyway. Oh, by the way, there's a crow lady. And she just, like, flourishes into frame.
I love that. She jumps up on a grave because they were talking in a graveyard, and he did, like, his crow powers to, like Vulcan mind meld, like, see some memories of hers.
Right.
But when he gestures, he's like, oh, by the way, there's a crow lady. She's like arms like spread out, like crouching, like doing a creepy crow thing. And I'm like, I like that.
This is a moment.
There you go. Yeah. Enter Miss Croman. Miss Croman.
So they go back to Eric's apartment, his flat, if you will. And
he fills her in on the gist of what it's like being undead, and talks about why he still stays in his apartment.
Yeah.
He doesn't repair the window.
The window is sometimes, not very often, but sometimes is a portal to the land of the dead. Also, there's a duffel bag there that has, like, a bunch of just random stuff that was left by
some
Albrecht.
reason. I don't know. I guess before they walked back home, he was lying, and he went, got the stuff, and then brought it back. I don't know. Anyways,
also,
there's a bunch of random shit.
It's a bunch of random stuff. So it's like, okay, so did he just, like, empty out the entire, like, evidence locker of, like, every murder that's happened in the past year?
There's some don't pay attention to the details in this.
There's a lot of like hand waving like that.
Yeah, because I'm like, why is he passing her this duffel bag? And this is another thing Malkavians can do. They can touch items in Vampire the Masquerade and, like, get a feeling for the item's memories and who's owned it before. So she does that. She uses her auspex, and she's like, oh, I was a doctor.
Yeah, like, and that's one of the powers that crows have. Like, even in the movie, like, Eric Draven could touch stuff and would get flashes.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so do I.
And she's like, you know what? That's a good place to start. I was a doctor. and I'm gonna go pay that place a visit.
And on the note of her like getting memories from like objects, some of the objects that she gets like her memories from are kind of fucking stupid, in my opinion. Like one of them is like her like surgery like textbook, like just because like she was like reading it when her daughter was kidnapped. That brings back
very
it brings back that very specific memory, even though
her specifically writing in it while she was hanging out with her kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Whereas like in the movie, like it's like the items that like have memories attached to them are
of importance,
are objects like of importance
to the person,
to the person and their loved one. This textbook has nothing to do with her daughter. So
was it a textbook, not a notebook?
It was a textbook. Yeah, it was a big textbook that said like surgery on it.
I have no feelings towards my old university textbooks, my dude.
No.
I would pick that up and go, oh, nothing. Got nothing. Barely opened.
No, what would happen is you would pick it up and you would get a flash and you'd be like,
and it would burn my hands.
Tuition, debt, student loan,
pain, depression. Oh, like a Vulcan mind melt.
Poverty, waste of my 20s. Oh,
yeah. Poverty, debt,
Nanaimo.
And I'd throw it across the room, and then I'd look, and my hands would be burning.
Yeah. And then you'd start like rubbing your hands on your face, and then you would look up and you have the crow makeup on. Anyway.
So that's what she does. She runs off to go to the hospital.
She goes to the hospital and she ends up finding one guy. I can't remember how she narrows it down to him exactly, but whatever. One guy who...
A memory in the hospital.
Kidnapped her and her daughter and like tied them to like a radiator or something in a attic.
And just let them starve.
And left them there.
Or just left them there?
I don't even think the show explains why this was done.
Doesn't explain why it was done, just that if it did, I missed it.
If it did, I missed it too. And I watched this episode twice. Because there were some gaps that I was trying to fill in.
So, and she's like, "Oh, who did you work with?" And she goes full crow. She goes full crow face.
Yeah.
And starts torturing him and breaking his like fingers and stuff, but like conveniently off screen. But this was the first time I was like audibly groaning. She's reciting like the scientific names of what bones and like what ligaments she's like torturing him with.
Right.
And then I don't know if it's from crow powers or stress, as she's torturing him for the name of the other guy that did this to her.
He has a heart attack.
And I'm like, is that crow powers? Or is that just him having a heart attack? And she does I hate this, man. It is so fucking cheesy. So he's having a heart attack and she's like, I need to remember what the boss taught me about CPR. And
she starts reciting the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, she does that.
And then her method of like CPR is just like her like Kirk punching.
Axe handle, if you will.
Yeah.
Kirk punching his chest, but she has crow face, so it's super powered, right?
Yeah.
And she Kirk slams him and goes 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and then he dies because she's slamming his chest so hard. And she's like, patient was unable to resuscitate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I fucking hate this. I hate this so much. Somebody please fucking just...
Now, how does that Hippocratic Oath go? I will follow that system of regimen which, according to my ability and judgment, I consider for the benefit of my patients, and abstain from what is deleterious and mischievous. Oh, I think we need CPR here.
No! 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 No!
1,000.
Rebecca!
2 1,000. 3 1,000. Patient failed to respond to treatment.
We're not on the same page with this. Like I actually liked it. I thought it was fun.
I like the cheese and the posing and her acting like strange and stuff. But the like recite that's fucking bad. That was too much for me.
That's fair.
But she goes to tell, because her new hangout spot is Draven's place.
Yeah.
She goes to tell him, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I already know."
Yeah, and here's another way that the lore kind of changes from the movies is she was like, "Oh, I killed one of them. I got revenge already." And he's like, "Yeah, the person who killed me and Shelly like was a guy named Top Dollar, and like I got revenge against him, but it didn't make it better." And this coming back, like it's not about revenge anymore. It's
about making the world a better place, man.
Basically, yeah. And so
she's like, right.
She's like, yeah. She's like, whatever, dude. I killed one of them, and I'm gonna go kill another one.
And he's like, no, you can't, because, and then he drops some, which probably has already been established on the show, some sick lore. He's like, no, because if a crow kills others, they can come back as snakes.
It was a concept.
Evil people can come back as snakes.
Yeah, if they're potentially, yeah. Which was a concept to the crow that was introduced in this show. That apparently, based on my limited research that I did, apparently has like continued on like in the comics. Also, the character here, her name's Hannah Foster, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
She ended up becoming a character. She ended up getting her own comics eventually too. Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, he's like, they could become a snake, and he's all like, oh well, like I don't even know what that is, and I'm not gonna leave you time to explain. Bye. And
we forgot to mention at one point she tries to jump out the window to like
because she finds out it's a portal to the other side.
It could be a portal to the other side,
and so she takes that literally. So she
jumps out to be with her daughter, lands on the pavement.
What are you doing?
Gonna see my little girl.
I actually laughed about.
I thought that was so fucking funny, and I'm like, oh, is she in for? Because they still feel pain.
Yeah, they don't die.
I'm like, is she in for a surprise? And the camera cuts to like her bones broken and everything, like on the ground.
She gets up, stumbles up, and like resets her arm. And Eric comes down there and is like,
it shows him running. He could have took a shortcut, but he didn't.
And he says, and she's basically like, "Ow, that smarts," like kind of. And he's like, "Yeah, we heal, but we still hurt." And then she like runs away and like
comes back with a motorcycle.
Comes back with a sick motorcycle, and then goes to like track down like the other dude.
But Draven gets to him first.
Yeah. Convinces him to like turn himself in. So he does.
Uses the penance stare that why can't I remember his name?
Ghost Rider.
The Ghost Rider has to like make him afraid of like what the chick can like do to him or whatever. So he hands himself in.
Turns himself in. She finds out about this, goes to the police station, and is like, hey, I'm looking for someone. And the cop at the desk is like, who? And she's like, I don't know his name. And he's like, huh, well.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah. Get out of here, lady. You bother me.
And then a perplexing interaction happens, which I don't think you would think a police officer wouldn't do. She grabs him by the neck and like lifts him like over the desk.
I thought she was gonna flirt with him, and at first she kind of leans in like she's about to be all like flirtatious.
She does that so she can get the drop on him. Yeah, and she's all like, "Tell me where he is." It was a guy that just handed himself in for like a murder of a mother and daughter,
right?
And he's like, "Oh, cell number 3 or whatever," and I'm like, "Why didn't you reach for your gun?" Because she goes crow face right in front of him. No, she already has crow face, right?
Speaking of guns, one of the items in the evidence duffel bag that Albrecht gave to Eric had a gun in it, and she used her like crowy sense to figure out that her husband killed himself after her and her daughter died.
Right, yeah.
So
that
she's
sucks.
Yeah, it does. I get it, but it still sucks.
Yeah, damn. Her story, just like on a just on paper level, her story is kind of a lot more tragic than Draven's.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So she
she finds the dude.
She finds the dude. She takes him to the attic where her and her daughter were like left for dead, and she chains him up and is like, I'm going to do the same thing to you. Do you know what it's like to have to sit and stare at your dead daughter for 3 days before you finally die?
And
sounds pretty horrendous.
Tier.
The blood tier.
The
blood tier is cheesy, but I liked it.
I liked it. Do they tier? There's a game called Exalted. It's another old White Wolf property at one point. They are very like abyssal coded, and I feel like this show, and indeed like the original movie, influenced abyssals in that. It's a type of like powerful like being you can be, but you have to die first and then you're brought back. And whenever they have tears, they're blood. And they remind me a lot of like the crows and the snakes in this, because the snakes come back with special weapons
and scaly skin
that we'll soon discuss.
Very soon. So she's gonna watch this guy die for like the next like week or so that it's gonna take,
and suddenly boom.
And suddenly,
big old snake.
The guy that she killed earlier came back as a snake, just like Eric warned her about.
Well, it preempts it because there's just a snake hanging out in the rafters, like a big constrictor.
Right.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, are you doing this?" And he's like, "What? I don't know what's going on." And that's when Snakeman McNurse shows up, still wearing his like
Snaky McNurse face.
Snaky McNurse face, yeah. But this time he's got blades, but they're magic blades. And he somehow knows all the lore. Whereas a crow, you just have amnesia and you have to like piece together everything and find everything out yourself.
Well,
Snaky McNurse face like has magical weapons that can kill crows. And he seems to know what he is.
Well, to quote the legendary science fiction comedy villain, Dark Helmet, evil will always triumph because good is dumb.
I don't make the rules, yeah. So yeah, he's like, my snake masters have sent me here to kill you. And he gets in a big old fight, and she is woe to discover that she doesn't heal right away from
the snake blades.
But and indeed, it leaves a CG slash on you that shows red light underneath.
It's like it cuts a hole through the time spirit continuum.
This time spirit continuum, and the crow energy is red. But as we find out, when Eric Draven Batmans him, grabs him from like a gargoyle and ascends into the rafters.
Yeah.
By God, it's Eric Draven ascending into the rafters. They get in a fight, and he's like what you see? And he's like, that's a snake blade. Where did you get it? I've run into types like you. And I'm like, how does this guy knows a lot? But Crow Woman, Lady Crow, she's got a blade in her gut.
Eric mentions that he had to kill a snake to get it. And I looked into this, and I believe it's the third episode of the TV show introduced the concept of the snakes.
I find that interesting.
Me too.
Yeah. And well, this I don't know what training this nurse snake face guy had, but it's 2v1 now. He shouldn't have showed up with two knives because he left one in the belly of Hannah.
Never bring a knife to a crow fight.
Never bring a knife to a crow fight. And then they double team him, get stabbed in the front and in the behind at the same time. But there's this martial art that Eric Draven uses, and his hair goes like kind of crazy, like a crow's puffed up, and he does this weird flippy thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, what is that? Some sort of crow dance? And I'm like, hey, that was kind of cool. And he's like, something like that. And he does a sweet martial arts move and slashes the guy across the chest.
Oh, it's the championship sweet thing. Only nobody gets out alive except me.
Knock, knock.
What's that? Some kind of crow dance.
Dance with this.
See you in heaven, honey.
See you in hell.
So there's a crow martial art.
Yeah. A crow foo.
Crow foo. There we go. He uses crow foo. And with the help of the snake blades, which, wouldn't you know it, can kill the snakes without having to harm their familiar. He goes, no! And the snakes have green light in them instead of red light. And he, the CG, 10 out of 10. He goes, no, and cracks go all around him, and all the chunks explode and fly towards the screen and like dissipate. Meanwhile, the other dude who's like tied to the thing is just like, holy shit, I just saw a snake in a crow fight.
Well, and I'm completely blanking on how the episode actually ends now.
Oh, it's like, don't you see? Like, they can just like come back or whatever. And she's all like, well, what do we do with him then? And then her wound does heal. It's just not immediate like normal wounds are. And it's like, we'll leave him here. And I'm like, that's still murder.
Oh, right. But
the
they
police,
tell the police.
They tell the police it's like a fake out. Yeah. And it ends with them having like a heart to heart on her family's graves, her husband and their daughter. And she kind of is like, well, I don't know what do I do? And he's like, I don't know, travel the world, stay here, do good. I don't have the answers. And she's like, maybe I can stay up and we can be birds of a feather. And I'm like, oh, she's implying like my husband's dead, your girlfriend's dead.
We're both crows.
We're both crow folk. And he's like, no, I got too much justice to, and turns her down. And I'm like, and she's like, oh, well, I can't stay here anyway. And gives him like a kiss on the cheek or whatever. And I'm like,
whatever. I was just joking anyway.
I was just joking anyway.
Why'd you have to take it seriously?
Slut. And she calls him a slut and runs away. I was just kidding.
Flapping her arms.
I like how she's a little crazy. It's unfortunate that instead of keeping that craziness, she just kind of slowly mellows out and like gets her memories back and becomes normal again.
Well, and indeed, based on she, I think appears in a couple more episodes of this show. So she comes back
in black.
And from what I could see, a lot of screenshots where I was just searching for the Crow Stairway to Heaven were like just shots of her. So I think she might be popular with the fan base.
I think I know why. And it's not because of her acting.
I think I know why too. Well,
her acting must get better.
Cal, you just watched a random episode of The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. Would you tune in again?
Here's the thing. I really like the acting of 1.5 actors on the show. I don't know, man. We skipped over many dozens of minutes of boring dialogue. There's a whole part where like police officer McFriend like fucks that like his coworker, and then his ex shows up in the middle of the night.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I do think I want to break." Immediately when the chick shows up, like wearing his shirt or something.
His ex, way hotter than Blondie, IMO.
And she's all like, "Oh, okay." But like 80% of the dialogue in the show doesn't need to be in the episode. And it wore me down, man.
I feel like a lot of the stuff with Albrecht was just to fill time. Was just to add a subplot to fill time.
It was hard. It was hard to get through. Yeah. Because it's like there's like 12 minutes of interesting Crow stuff, and then like 30 minutes of not interesting normie stuff.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think I'd tune in next week just based on this.
I am going to. I downloaded the entire show totally legally. 100%. Well, actually, the show isn't available to purchase or rent digitally.
So
anywhere.
You had to go on eBay and buy it on DVD.
And buy a DVD copy. Yeah, of course.
Cost 250 Canadian dollars.
Anyway, I acquired the entire series, and I think I'm gonna give the whole thing a rewatch.
Nice.
Start to finish, since I only ever caught episodes here and there on TV back in like 99, 2000. Used to be on Space, a channel that I am
intrigued. Oh, it was on Space. Oh,
it was on Space, yeah.
I am interested in like the Crow lore, like what they need to do to go back. The snakes, like how organized are they? Like, do they leave? Do they have a patron that gives them these weapons on the other side, and they come back with them? Right? Like, I'm curious about the world, the setting, how the Crow powers work. But not enough in like all the side characters. And
this show also features the Skullface Cowboy, which is from the original comic that was a character that was completely omitted from the movie. But it's basically like, you know, the movie Ghost, the train ghost, who like tells him like how things are. That's kind of what the Skullface Cowboy does for the Crow, and he's in the show.
Mine's a probably not, but might. Yeah, because I'm like, my curiosity's piqued because there's cool ideas here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll admit this episode wasn't that great. I completely agree with you. Like all the stuff like involving Albrecht was like really boring and like really drags the episode down. The stuff with Eric, and even the stuff with Eric and Sarah, and the stuff with Lady Crow, Hannah, like that was all interesting despite her atrocious acting. So I agree with all of that. But I'm very intrigued by all the ideas, the new ideas that the show is bringing in. So that's why I'm gonna go back and start from the beginning and actually watch through the whole thing.
We're intrigued by these new ideas from 1999.
Yeah.
New ideas to the original Crow stuff. Crow movie. Yeah.
The original Crowman.
Yeah. Crowman McJustice. Attorney at Crow.
Attorney at Crow. Well, that was episode 99 of the Lazor Comb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. We're starting at the $5 tier. You get our bonus weekly Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super Lazor Comb Patreon Super Show. The $10 tier, you get that. You also get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this very podcast, and you get commentary tracks. We've actually done a few of those recently. We did Ninja Turtles, we did RoboCop, and just recently we did the commentary for The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, which was a trip.
That was something.
So
it was not what I expected. So come and check us out on Patreon to see what the heck that's about.
Patreon.
Can you imagine that being our commentary being the first time they watched that?
Yeah. I'm actually hoping some of our patrons who haven't seen the movie decide to just watch it with our commentary playing.
You'll be as surprised as me.
Anyway, patreon.com/lazorcomb, $10 tier if you want, if any of that tickles your fancy.
Recommend a show like this.
Join the Discord if you want to interact with us. Link in the description as always. We've had a few new people join lately, which is pretty neat. And if you want to buy a Lazor Comb t-shirt, TeePublic store, link in the description as always. We will be back next week with episode 100.
We did it. We made it to 100. You know what? TME, our other podcast about Beast Wars, TME feels like 400 episodes, but Lazor Comb does not feel like 100.
No. TME, a show that's on Too Much Energon, show that's on hiatus right now, but it might be coming back.
The foremost Beast Wars.
It might come back in the new year to say sayonara to planet everywhere once and for all.
Sayonara to planet everywhere once and for all.
Yeah. But no, that podcast feels like it's like 400. I agree with you there. It feels like it's 400 episodes. This doesn't feel like 100 episodes. But for episode 100, it'll be a Patreon pick. I'm going with this one because it's a Patreon pick, but also if you're a millennial, it's kind of like the ultimate like canceled too soon like type show of like the 2000s. So anyway, we're gonna be back next week with Firefly.
That's the ultimate canceled too soon millennial show.
So to figure out what episode of Firefly we're going to be talking about, I'm going to hit screen share, share the screen.
We're sharing it.
And here it is.
There's like 12 episodes.
There are 14.
Dang.
So random number generator 1 between 1 and 14, and here we go. Where it stops, Joss Whedon knows. 3.
Ooh.
Bushwhack.
We dodged is number 1 and 2 a two-parter, or did they? Okay, they have episode 1 and 2 as one episode, it looks like.
Okay, so here we. All right.
Yeah, welcome to the show. I remember this.
This. Do we want to do episode 3 in broadcast or episode 3 in production order?
Production order would be.
Production order is the next one, episode 4, Shindig.
Would it be Train Job? No, that would be. Oh,
here's the production.
Train Job.
Right,
so what's episode 3 in production?
In production is Shindig.
And that one's about.
You know what? I'm gonna look up the Firefly DVD. What order?
Because I have it. I can go grab.
If you want to go grab it, yeah, and just if it has like a sheet in there that says like what episode is episode 3 on the DVD, like I say we just go with that one, whatever it is.
We're doing it, folks. We're going with episode 3. Let's see if my memory serves me correctly. So it says Serenity. So air date 12/20/02. So Serenity is part 1 and 2, and then the Train Job was in like order meant to be, but the first one aired was the Train Job.
So on the DVD, what is episode 3 on the DVD listing?
Bushwhacked.
Okay, so that's what it is on here. So go with that one.
What's Shindig? Oh, is that the one where he's dragged into a sword fight? Is Shindig good? I can't remember. Or should we watch Train Job? Train Job is just good.
Bushwhacked is episode 3 on the DVD, so I say we just go with that.
Let's go with that.
All right. We'll be back next week. Episode 100 of the Lazor Comb podcast. Firefly. Bushwhacked. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
And until then, I've been Father Siege, one of your hosts.
And I've been Neo Dog. Wait, no. Dog Man Cal, your other host.
Thanks for listening. We'll crow and gate you next time.
Caw!